vinyl floor Saturday, so most of my work was indoors.
Well, there you are.
Here I am.
I
Good
should say,
morning.
good morning. Here you still are.
Yeah.
That's what I should have said.
Gotcha. Business meeting, thank you.
Quite the rain this morning.
Yeah.
That it was, that it
My
was.
flowers are laying over.
You know, like Humboldt Street stuff, you know, they put those, storm drains and they did all that work, they put the storm drain higher than the elevation of the gutters. So the water, the streets were full, static, not draining.
It was still draining down here on 3rd Street when I drove through this morning.
Well, that way it can't get into the flood
A lot of
area,
water.
you know, and the water can't go
It'll
down.
let it out slow
Yeah.
that way, you know, and get evaporation and.
Juliet was flooded.
Was it?
I backed up, went down the alley
Mm.
because I didn't, no,
Yeah.
for sure.
Man.
People who don't know, you go in a lot of basements, and when they get water in the basement, the drain's the highest spot. There's a reason, because most of them didn't know, but when I started out back in '65, you know, most of the concrete contractors screed around across the drain, and then when they went to, they push all the cement, and they donut around it.
Right.
And I was taught, as soon as the screed passed, it was my job to take a shovel, and scoop 2 or 3 scoops of concrete out, and throw it back from the screed, so.
Yep.
My drain's drained.
The commercials on TV have reached a new level of ridiculousness. Political ads.
They are.
Probably got about 4 or 5 mailers over the weekend, Friday, Saturday, and of course I expect to see a lot more of those this
Yeah.
year.
And now they've come up with this real neat, ambiguous way to lambaste somebody, and it ain't really a candidate doing it, it's some mythical sunflower or whatever, and make up all these names, and
Yep.
Most of the time, all of those are untrue.
well, and,
As long as they accuse and get somebody thinking about it, that's all they want.
Well, if everybody would quit thinking that way, there would be no need to do those.
It's time for our meeting.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay. So now, does anyone in the audience, who's going to be first? Nobody? Okay. Mr. John Ford. Oh, yeah, Julie. Julie, I forget about you.
Yeah.
Shouldn't,
Can you-
but
Can you hear me okay?
you ready?
Yep. Can
Okay.
you hear me?
Yeah.
All right. So just a quick update. As of yesterday, we had 395 confirmed positives, and out of those, 111 are considered active cases. We have had 281 recover. So we're happy to see that recovery number much higher than our active cases. As of this morning, we have 3 COVID positive patients in the hospital. We are not sure if they're all Riley County residents, so we're going to check on that later this morning. We did have a 20-year-old in the hospital as of Friday who was transferred to KU Med that evening. So more to come on that later this morning. We'll likely have more in our press release today. Currently, we do have 216 tests pending, and we've had a total of 3,823 negative tests in the county so far. Everything else is pretty much the same. We're still encouraging people to call our screening line. We get about 50 calls a day to that screening line. We're still encouraging people with questions to email us at rileycountycovid19@gmail.com. Also, businesses can email that address as well if they have a positive and they're not sure how to handle that. We do have staff here at the health department that can walk them through that process. We get about, I would say, as of last week, we were seeing closer to 20 emails a day Kansa United Way is our mask hub now. They have lots of masks that are available to give out for free. They're located at Colony Square on Points Avenue, Suite 245, and they'll be available between the hours of noon and 3. So you can pick up masks on Tuesdays and Thursdays between the hours of noon and 3. Did have a meeting Wednesday night with the COVID-19 Clinical Task Force to discuss protocols going forward with children, teachers, and staff at the schools. And this will be an ongoing discussion between the healthcare providers, the health department, and school administration, as well as school nurses. The command staff is still meeting daily. We do have weekly EOC briefings on Mondays at 3. We did issue order number 15 in effect today. No huge changes in that order, just a few more recommendations that we put in there. And we'll keep our mass gathering size at 50. We'll keep those restrictions on the restaurants and bars as far as screening employees and also closing at midnight. Let's see. Facebook Live, we're just doing once a week from here on out on Wednesdays. We figured, 3 days a week was a little too much. We were getting kind of the same questions. So instead, we're going to continue with our press release daily and just do our Facebook Lives on Wednesdays at 4:15. And I think that's about all I have. I'm still doing K-Man every Monday, Wednesday, Friday at 7 a.m. Any questions on any of that?
I don't.
No, thank you,
I
Julie.
like the numbers, they're getting better.
Yeah, definitely.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, Mr. Ford.
Okay, well, for me, I guess everything basically happened on Thursday. Pretty busy day. Of course, we went through the interviews for our new position, emergency service director. I thought those interviews went very, very well, and I had some really good, qualified, good candidates. So whoever ended up choosing, I think will be very well served on those needs for the future. Also on Thursday, we did the Zoom meeting with Widow Bryant's, of course, our consultant for the SMARTS funding that's coming through the CARES Act through the state of Kansas. Thought that presentation was very well done. Gave me a lot to think about, and I'm still thinking about as we speak. And gave me some things to think about that I hadn't thought about up until that particular point. So it's going to be an ongoing thing here. So it was good to have that extra information there moving forward. After we got done with the other stuff there, I did catch about the last 30 minutes of the updated meeting of the Manhattan Area Recovery Task Force. About 30 minutes is what I caught on there, so I probably missed the majority of it. I'll wait for the digital update there. That'll kind of fill in the gaps, hopefully. I guess we'll meet again on the 30th, so we just kind of moved ahead from where we were last week on that. So just trying to keep up with the discussion and what's going on there. And then, of course, later Thursday afternoon, we did the city-county meeting. Of course, that was an updated discussion of Spark funding that will be moving fast and furious here over the next week or so. And thought our conversation was pretty good on that particular subject. I think we're all on the same page, at least at the moment anyway, moving forward with that. So that's basically all I got.
Okay, thank you. Ron?
No, pretty much the same thing. Very, very busy. Time got here, the time we left, about a 10-hour day Thursday, and that was very fruitful. With the interviews, had some highly qualified candidates, and also by Zoom attended the city-county, and got an update there. And after that time, I have been busy on the remodel. I saw one Facebook a complaint on a local store, the number of people, 15 people not wearing a mask, and I happened to be in there and I didn't see anybody not wearing a mask. So I guess it's people's perception. I know super hot when you go to pick up lumber or material. I don't think any of us wear one from the truck to the door as long as there's no people around. We put our mask on as we enter the building. So I don't know if they were talking about out in the parking lot, but anyway, I think people do a pretty good job of wearing masks. And didn't respond to any. Got a couple other emails on the mask wearing, and one request on how probably be RCPD's handling their use of force. And I thought that'd be, I'm not on the law board anymore, I thought that'd be best to refer that to Dennis Butler. And that's pretty much it. We're already good.
Okay, well, I did about the same for Thursday, the interviews with the candidates for planning and zoning. And we're gonna have a hard time picking somebody probably when we look at it again. But I did not attend the city county meeting because I had to go to Topeka and see my wife. So outside of that, and she's coming along, and the rest of the time was spent trying to redo that bathroom so she could use it, the tub, finding a way to make it so that it's easy for her to have a seat in the tub and all that. So I think I got it figured out. I just got to get it together now and put some more handles on the walls inside the tub. And that's where I spent most of my time this weekend and in Topeka. So. Okay, business meeting.
First item, gentlemen, bid recommendation for Fairmont Heights Sanitary Sewer Benefit District.
I'll make a motion that we approve the recommendation for the Fairmont Heights Sanitary Sewer Benefit District.
All in favor?
Aye.
Department signs. Several spots.
Several spots. Yeah. A bunch of spots. Maybe by the time this term is over, I'll have my name down, spelled right. You think?
Possibly.
Well, if not, it's gonna cost you a lot more pizza.
That's not in the contract. Writing your name is not part of that deal.
Thank you.
I declared that. Being chairman, I can make that decision.
Next item is highway use permit for Twin Valley.
Make a motion that we approve the permit for highway use from Twin Valley Telephone.
All in favor?
Aye.
Mr. Chairman again. One spot, looks like.
I stopped at the head of the barber shop Friday, and about a half a block, 3/4 block away, there was a person walking, and I got that no mask glare when I got out of the truck. And I was gonna holler, how can you trim your beard, you know, whatever, but I didn't say anything, and then she saw the barber shop sign, so then she turned around and walked on, so. We got very observant people here.
Next item we have personnel action forms for Catherine Ventura as a museum assistant, separation of service. Victoria Slack, new hire, office building receptionist in the county treasurer's department. Michelle Reed, status change, administrative analyst, accounts payable, county clerk department. Leon Hobson, public works, county engineer, separation of service. Next, position action form, Raleigh County position action form for public works director, county engineer, public works department to advertise for the position.
Okay.
Yeah, sure. Yeah.
There's the minutes from the board is.
Okay, everybody ready?
Oh, gentlemen, I'm sorry, I got one late addition I forgot about. Riley County Shared Leave Request Form.
What now?
Riley County Shared Leave Request
Oh,
Form,
okay.
where employees can donate leave to someone that's in need.
This is the request for someone that is experiencing a catastrophic medical condition. And so the department head has requested shared leave on that individual's behalf.
Okay.
Because they are out. The office.
Motion on that, right?
Please.
Yeah, I already made one, so.
I'll second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Ah, there we go.
Okay. Everybody ready for the,
Now, gentlemen, sorry for that, ready for the minutes from the board is.
all right. Start off with page 1.
On page 1 there, I'm assuming where you got Greg McHenry and Barry Wilkerson at 12. That was for the Widow Bryant's presentation.
Yeah, he was present on.
Okay.
On there. I try to look at that regularly and sometimes I catch them, sometimes I don't.
Gotcha. Okay.
Okay, page 2. Page 3. Page 4. Page 5. Page 6. Page 7. Page 8. Page 9. Page 10. Page 11. Page 12. And page 13.
Make a motion that we accept the minutes as written.
All in favor?
All right.
Tentative agendas look, gentlemen.
Are we doing interviews on Thursday or no?
None on there.
I didn't see it listed on there, so.
I know she was gonna work on trying to get a hold of people. I know as of Friday, she hadn't been able to get a hold of people yet.
Okay.
So I imagine that's what she'll be working on today, so I wouldn't be surprised if they pop up
Okay, I'm gonna leave it open then.
due to the sense of urgency on
Correct.
getting that clarified.
Okay.
Any items for next week's press conference, gentlemen?
I don't have any.
Okay, next, it's 9 o'clock. We have Charlotte Hager.
Right.
I may have something for Monday from the NACO annual meeting. I'll just see how it goes today. If it's not much going on, I won't discuss much.
Tammy doing?
All right, how about you?
Oh, not too bad. Excuse me, John.
I know it's looking ahead on our investment, we have a whopping 0.31%. Interest rate.
I know. I know.
And the sales tax is sure way down.
I suspect it might be.
Well, I was trying to help. I noticed a person had it on an email, wanted the record of exactly where we spend the parent money and everything like that, and by the freedom of information and all that.
Yeah, I saw that.
Okay, well, that has to be done through legal channels, doesn't it? I mean, it has to be
Yeah.
a written request.
They'll do an open records request. I'm
Yeah.
sure Craig will get a hold of them on the detailed ones like that.
Yeah.
Usually
And
what
like I
happens.
said, of course, we haven't spent it yet, so,
Right.
this one, my point was, you just can't just call and request, say, hey, I want it.
No, we cannot. Open records request, we have a form for them to fill out and sign. That way it's specific on what they want. Since they're potentially, depending on the time and materials, there are charges involved as
Yeah.
well.
Well, I wonder, of course, yeah, that's not rain, I wonder if Peter's having fun on the bridge job there on 18. Yep.
That depends on how much we get tonight, because now the soil's getting saturated. I was glad I got my garden filled up yesterday. I knew I had to, I didn't want to, but I was coming back from helping my son, but I knew if I didn't get it yesterday,
Mhm.
with the forecast, I might not get it until next weekend, and I've been a mess by then, so. It was already bad enough, so.
Yep.
Sorry about that.
Right. I know.
I can call you every time you do.
Okay, okay, thank you, Lindsay.
Sure.
Yeah, I felt pretty good about that shot this morning. It was, just, as soon as I pulled the trigger, and he just laid over like that, and that's it.
Uh-huh.
No movement or nothing, and
My owl keeps coming right about, we got a big oak tree like, geez, not even 10 yards from the back of our house. He lights there. Usually about 8 o'clock, then he flies over the swing set and sits there for a while. Big old pretty owl. They're neat critters. You must have found some good hunting around there, because he's sure sticking close.
last Tuesday or Wednesday, over behind the old block building down along Kitten Creek, I have a spot down in there to mow, and came up towards Anderson, and I saw this flash, and it was about 3 in the afternoon. Apparently, little Bambi was sleeping. He sucked out high gear. That little squirt was high-tailing it to the shop.
Yeah, I saw on our road I saw a mother with a young fawn. They're neat. I like seeing them.
Yep.
Saw last week, saw my first batch of turkeys that were
Oh, did you?
new turkeys this year. So that was the first batch I'd seen of those.
I just saw earlier, saw one hen and two chicks. So,
Yeah, this wasn't a very big brood, and they were a little bigger. And then my wife said she saw one last week where they were still pretty small.
uh-huh.
I hadn't seen that group yet.
I didn't tell you about, a week or two ago, went up to see some people up north. He asked me to come up. Larry Henry, you know what I'm talking about?
Larry?
He complimented me on the ambulance. He said 14 minutes to his house.
Good.
So it's not what they're saying, and he lives way up past the Randolph Bridge.
Yep. Yeah, that helped a lot getting out there on the highway quickly.
Yeah. So all this other talk about not happening. He said it was fast, it was quick. It was there.
My soybeans like this rain. They're doing good. They're looking good. And the deer are liking the soybeans.
Oh, yeah. So the wood shop.
Yeah. Uh-huh. I'm sure I got them out there, but soybeans are too tall to see them. Morning, Shiloh.
Morning.
How are you, Shiloh?
Morning, David.
Morning.
Morning.
And there's David. Him.
What'd I do? Pick a number.
I was gonna say, you really have to ask.
I was just commenting to them, I had gone up to see Larry Henry way up
Uh-huh.
on something, can't think of the first name of it. Anyway, it's up there past the Randolph Bridge.
Yep.
Up the go way up there.
Uh-huh.
And he said he called a week or two before,
Uh-huh.
14 minutes.
That's pretty good.
So he's complimenting, and that's further than Riley, that's further than Randolph.
Yep.
Further than Leonardville.
Yep. Yep, absolutely. That's pretty good. Cool.
And Steve Hartgraves was with him, so he heard it too. So
Okay, nice. Right. Right. Good. That's, we do our best to keep that trucking station as much as we can. Leon says I need to sit up here.
we do too. We can watch you
When
better.
did you start listening to Leon?
We'll see, he'll tell me, so I can make fun of you. I'd like to give Leon grief.
Says the person who's not actually here to do so in person.
Right.
They always put a little message for him out here.
Yeah. If it wasn't on YouTube, because I caught myself one day.
It's okay, you put a hashtag in front of it, and it's all okay.
There you go. Because I sat down here and he told me to fix my hair. So I brushed it and then I thought about it. And I'm gonna get myself in trouble
Again.
again.
Yeah, some people have this.
Yep.
That.
True.
We get a little extra time, I need to talk to you.
Okay, we've got EOC meeting, it's supposed to be at 9:15, we moved it to 9:30, so I can be here. You just want me to call you later?
Well, the thing of it is that, do we have a inter-county agreement with Clay County?
I don't believe so.
Might be something we want to do.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of an automatic mutual aid.
Yeah,
Um,
now that's what mutual aid,
Yeah.
they were still looking at trying to see if they could, and it's gonna be hard with our dispatch system to have them come if we can't,
Sure,
if, because they're close to that part of the
right,
county.
right.
Even if they were to say, you come quick because it's whatever, but
Okay,
I'm
I'll
still
reach out
looking,
to the director
okay?
and start that conversation with him.
Yeah, at least get a inter-county
Uh-huh. Yeah.
agreement.
Yeah, I mean, it's so rare that they do it, and, just like we would, it's just, probably, I don't know the last time that's ever happened, to be
Yeah.
honest.
But we should have something, just in case. I mean, you never know.
Right.
Speaking of, I don't know what was going on over on my side of town yesterday afternoon, but I think Ottawatomie County dispatched all their ambulances, it seemed like.
Really?
There was at least 2 of them, yeah.
Huh, I don't know.
Yeah, there was, when I came back from Topeka yesterday afternoon, there was a couple of cars out here.
Uh-huh.
They had several RCPD vehicles,
Mhm.
and they had an ambulance here.
Yeah, I think it was, is
We had 2 cars collide. That's all I
that what
know.
it was?
Yeah. And then they were doing witnesses,
Uh-huh. Yep.
Yeah, it sounds like we're back to our normal flow of traffic now.
Pretty nice Corvette. that got down.
Corvette, a Chevy Traverse, it says.
Yeah.
Yep. Probably. Would be my guess.
All wonderful news today, right?
It's not that bad.
Should be about almost now at 9 o'clock.
Okay. Good morning, Shiloh
morning.
Hager,
Good
Riley
morning.
County Treasurer, with the June 30th revenue report. So as of the end of June, we had a balance in the general fund of 19,296,677.08. And comparatively, for the same time period last year, in the general fund, we had 16,428,831.54, which is up 2.8, just over 2.8 million. All of our funds, we have a balance of 49,686,599.17. And when I compared that to 2019, we had 51,596,980.57, which in our total amount of funds, we are down 1.9. Year-to-date interest, we have 322,237.89, which is 21.61% over what is budgeted through the month of June. And as you can see here, we have collected 71.61% of what we have budgeted for the calendar year. Our interest rate on the active checking account was 0.16%, and our highest CD investment rate that we received in June was 0.31%. We have deposited 14,733.26 worth of interest into the sunflower account for the that's being credited to CIP for the radio project. Any questions about any of that?
No, I don't.
Okay. So our general fund breakdown of revenue, we did end the month for what is budgeted for the month of June, 25.52% over what is budgeted. And through June 30th, we are sitting at 1.78% over what was budgeted for general fund revenues through June 30th. June actually, and believe it or not, we are exactly halfway through the year. So you can look here on all of the various departments to see where we're sitting percentage-wise for the total amount of the year. And we're sitting at we've collected 85.94% of all budgeted revenues for the general fund. Okay, now the number that we've been waiting for the last couple months is sales tax. So you can see here that we deposited $252,046.07, which we budget $250,000 for sales tax each month. So we are slightly over for the month what we did budget. You can see here that we are 8.95% less than what we had the same time last year. Year to date, we are still sitting at 8.18% over what has been budgeted through the month of June. And then when we look at just year to date numbers, we are down about 1.24% compared to June of last year. And we're down 5.65% compared to what we brought in compared to the month of May. And we are 9.55% down for the month of June compared to last June's numbers. And you can see over here the various items that were actually went down compared to what we had last year, which it's not surprising the areas that are down. And remember, these are April sales. So that would have been the first month that we were pretty much closed down all over in totality. So not anything surprising, but I would say it wasn't as bad as it could have been. Any questions about any of that?
Go ahead, no trouble.
Okay. We are slowly getting caught back up on renewals and registrations. Year to date, we are still down 350 renewals compared to where we were last year, and 323 registration transactions. So we are, compared to where we were at this time last month, our office has been extremely busy. I just thought I would give you a update as to the governor's latest executive order and how that affects our office, and just so the public knows how things are going to be going for the next 6 months. So her last executive order extended all registrations or purchases. So, and it's on a staggered platform. So January purchases have now until August 31st to get registered without any penalties. February purchases have till September 30th. March purchases have until October 31st. April purchases have until November 30th, and May purchases have until December 31st. So any purchases after May 31st, those are going to still follow the 60-day guidelines. So renewals for March, April, May, and June have been extended until November 14th. So to not get any penalties. There are no extensions given for July. So if you have a July renewal, they are due by July 31st. Driver's license that expire between March 12th and September 15th have until December 31st to come in and renew without any penalties. And I just want to remind the public also that Real ID has been extended until October 1st of 2021. So anybody who's thinking they have to get in before October 1st of this year to get their Real ID, that has been extended. Our driver's license office, that since we've reopened, the first day was probably the worst. It closed down at 10:45, I think. Since then, it's been about between 1 and 2 that we've closed it down for the day. So Just once again, I just encourage people to text themselves in line, use our queuing system so that you don't have to wait in the office, or because we are really trying to control the number of people that we're letting in. The new receptionist started today, so we're excited to have her on board and get me back into my office. So anything else I can give you gentlemen today?
I don't have.
I don't think so.
We-
Don't think so, no. Thank
Okay.
you, Charles.
All right, well, thank you. You
Okay.
guys have a great rest of your day.
You
All right,
too.
you too.
Next one, we have David Adams at 9:15.
Julie asked me to give the brief next Monday to the BOCC. She's gonna be out of town, so your job is to remind me that I'm supposed to do that.
Okay. I'll try and put that forefront of my calendar.
Absolutely. I appreciate that.
Get much more
Yeah.
rain today or tomorrow. Could really have it running some places. Get much rain tonight.
27 years ago today, they opened up the floodgates.
Yep.
About 93. Historical reference. Just a historical reference, no comparisons being made here.
Yeah, the lake's pretty low right now.
Yeah. Yeah, I drove out there.
Have a ways to go, but it can get there in a hurry.
Drove out that way Sunday morning. It all looked peaceful and calm.
Yeah, I lost a lot of time in '93, trying to make 2 trips a day up to the lakes and go to the tubes and the outflow.
I think if I remember right, 27 years ago today, we were down in the Dix Edition trying to save one of our players on our baseball team's family's house down there. I can't remember, on Violet Street, I think it was.
I was helping sandbag David's Sailor's place down on the river, the cabin, and of course, at one point then when the siren, they used to use the siren, every time they opened the gates anymore. And then when the siren went underwater, we didn't have that option anymore, we just had to keep watching real close and.
I didn't realize they'd left the gates open until August 9th.
Didn't even-
You know, it wasn't like open for a day or two, and they left those gates open for quite some time.
Just amazing the erosion that
Oh,
caused.
I know.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I went up there, after they closed the gates and when people could get in, it's muddy, but, and my wife and I waded down through and all those different ledges and covered with shale, and there was a professor who was showing his children shark's teeth, and, oh, how wonderful, nature did all this, and I said, excuse me, I said, man did this, he opened up 18 gates. I said, there's a river, never been go up here.
Uh-uh.
Oh, I said, I thought you're right, He said, it's very interesting. He knew all the different fossils and
If you look on the side over there of the outflow there, you can see where basically last year ended up at. At this point in time, you can see the marks, but
Yeah,
There's
the
maybe
other,
in there, my area along the creek where it's backed up in there, how many of those trees completely died?
Yeah.
You just see, there's already
The-
before, just tons of dead trees.
the other interesting thing about it is, because everyone wants to put an electric dam up here. The water that came out in 93 flood, out of the gates up there, is the same amount of water that goes on the 3 or 4 gates, tubes that are up there in the dam up there in the state of Washington. And they're constant. That's how much you need to have a good dam. And they don't understand that why we can't dam the water here and make a hydroelectric dam, because it's not gonna be that very big, and since we don't run it through the way it is, that's a lot of water to come out that gate. And it's a lot of water, that one in Washington, state of Washington.
We don't produce that much.
I
Yeah,
remember flying over the Hoover Dam on my way to Vegas last summer. And that's just massive. I mean,
yeah, it is.
you see pictures, they just don't do it justice. I mean, it's just huge,
It is.
huge.
They built that dam pretty quick, too.
Oh, they did?
That's before regulations.
Yeah, before OSHA.
Yeah,
So, yeah, you couldn't do that now.
No.
No, they literally had 5 shifts in 24-hour period working
Yeah.
on that with 2 overlapping at any given
and
time.
guys would dangle down and
Mhm.
There's a
set
few-
dynamite stuff. And
few people in that dam, aren't there?
yeah,
Yeah.
there's some people
That's what they
died.
claim, but they don't have any proof of it.
They say but they're not, they can't be in it, like in the concrete, is that what you're asking? They say
No.
they can't because the body would break down and then the concrete would then,
No, I read it.
yeah,
Yeah,
so, yeah, that's kind of, I've heard that and such.
A wives' tale.
Yeah,
yeah,
but they said that the body would decompose and then that would make that concrete would then crumble in upon itself.
but that dam took a lot of lives hanging off the cliffs, and
Yeah, it did.
dynamiting it and stuff. But they got it built quickly,
Some brave people.
Mhm.
and they couldn't do it very fast because concrete gets hot, and they had to wait till it cool off. That's a lot.
That's why it's got all the piping, in the
Time.
concrete, they pipe cold water through it.
Are you ready? All right.
Yeah.
Morning, Commissioners.
Morning.
David Adams, EMS Ambulance Director with my monthly update. So, calls for service, June, we had 307, that was down 13% from last year. If you recall, in May, our call volume was down 21%, so it's starting to come back up. And the last couple of weeks, I've noticed that our call volume has continued to get back about normal, kind of what we would expect, so for this time of year. North County, 17 calls, which is right on average, so that really hasn't changed much over the last 6 months. Department of Education, as we've talked about in the past, we've postponed some in-person classes. We're working on making those remote. And we're going to submit some proposals to the Spark money to help us make those more, a better quality and be able to do those online and put together online programs through our Zoom account. So we need to do it, and this is a perfect opportunity to get that done. So looking forward to that. Community outreach, we're really still not doing much, but Battle of the Badges is coming up. Big blood drive here, and I want to put that on there to remind people that it's a big blood drive, and blood is always in need. And this pandemic is no exception. So, but that's coming up. I know James came in with the Manhattan Fire Department and some of the others, and Red Cross kind of pushing this. So, car seat, we're starting to do a few car seat installations. Mainly that's done by RCPD, are the ones who've been doing that. But our check lane is still closed. But on a case-by-case basis, if we can bring somebody in to get that done, we do it. But it is still, we're following the state's kind of mandate, their kind of timeline, so saying, it's something you got to do if you can, but some of the optional ones we're kind of holding off on. So, but we got to help everybody out. So administration is back in the office full time. We made some pretty significant changes here in the last few weeks. At Station One, as you know, we had, there was always a bedroom that had two people who slept in the same room. What we did is I moved my office, I'm now over in the health department. I moved Josh and Alex over to the FCRC. Josh is in our, one of our supply rooms, and Alex is in our training room. I think there's gonna be some offices open up here in the FCRC towards the end of the year, but we'll get them out of there. But they're right now, I mean, Josh is got boxes of PPE and radios surrounding him, and Alex has our training stuff in there. But that allowed us to move the captain out of a bedroom. That way we have one person per bedroom at the station. Obviously, it's not ideal. You know, now we have, none of us admin are in the station, you know, so it's harder to conduct business and to work with the staff and the crews, but you gotta do what you gotta do. So we've made that change here in just the last couple weeks. Again, trying to do our best to allow for social distancing best that we can. So the new hire orientation that we started many months ago is just about done. But we had to take a break and we had to build some things online to do it and such. So we've lost several employees. Probably in the next few weeks, you'll see 4 or 5 sheets come across your desk. We lost the one full-time that we talked about who's going PRN, going to medical school. Had 2 who are military, who are being transferred. One to South Carolina and one to Washington State, I believe. They've been with us for a couple, 2-3 years. And then I have another one who's leaving his spouse, graduated from vet school. So it's part of it. You know, these PRN are kind of transient. We get a couple good years of work with them and such. So those will be coming across your desk, I think, in the next month. Any questions about any of that?
No.
Okay. So the next is just what I gave you last month as well. It's kind of the breakdown of calls. It looks a little different. The system we used did an update, and so we're trying to scramble to figure out the update. So just the responses of the different vehicles. How many of them go on different calls? So that's not right. Like I said, I don't think it transferred over. It did not. So that first one, Medic 11, which is Station 1, our main station, had 110 calls. Medic 21, which is the station here at 11th and Points, had 98. 31 had 53, which is one at the shops. 41, which is out at the airport, had 43. So but I'll get this fixed next time. I just had a heck of a time getting uploaded. So
I think the numbers are right. I think they just did them on top of each other.
Okay. I see what it did.
Yeah, roll to the
Okay,
next one, so the numbers are right if you.
If you go down.
No.
Thanks.
Go north and south instead of east and west.
I was trying to do this on my Surface because I was in the middle of moving offices. So I was trying to move over during the weekend, so I didn't lose work time. And so
I helped you out there, so I'll do it for Monday.
I appreciate you. So calls for day of the week. Again, they're about average, about what we would expect. Sunday's always a little slower. Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday kind of pick up, and then Thursday, Friday, Saturday. Those are down a little bit. That's probably where we're down the most because the students aren't here, the soldiers aren't in town, so we're not having as much activity in Aggieville, or just cars on the road. So
That's pretty significant.
Yep. So, and then our hour range is broken down. So you can see that. I'll have that cleaned up next month. I've got my screens are up and running now, so I'm not working on my kitchen table, which my wife appreciates. So, but nothing really out of the ordinary there. Nothing jumped out and surprised me. So.
Okay.
We are working with K-State on a couple contingency plans in case football does come back. We had a meeting, met with them last week. So we'd already started. I'd anticipated that they would ask us for some sort of a contingency, what if it's 75% capacity, 50% capacity, what would that look like? So had a meeting with them last week, I think it was last Wednesday or Thursday sometime. So met with them last week, and meet with them again this week and such. So we're working on that as well. So I'll have, after the meeting with the Spark consultants, so I'll have some things put together. We're working on them obviously now, and I'll have them for Tammy probably by the end of the week. So some retrofitting and some things for our ambulances, so. Okay?
Yeah,
All right, sounds
Questions?
good.
yeah, just let me know what comes of you meeting with.
Yep, absolutely. I'll give Rocky
Clay
a call,
County.
try late today or tomorrow.
And, or do we have, do we only have one with just Pot County and any other counties?
Nope, I've never had that,
Okay,
so, but, I'll reach out to him.
Yeah.
Okay?
okay. It's like, I know in Marysville up there, you know, that in Marshall County,
Mhm.
could have something happen real
Usually
bad.
Clay County covers them.
Okay, but all the way to the east side
Or
of,
the Pot County does,
To
because
the-
Pot County is a truck in Onega,
okay,
so
Okay.
Pot County covers them.
Okay.
But, yep, I'll take a peek at it.
okay,
Absolutely.
thanks.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, David.
Okay. 9:30 is, press conference. Okay.
Mr. Chairman, this is Leon.
The time, what time is it you're saying?
No, I just wanted to let you know that I will be substituting for Gary this morning.
Okay,
A good thing it's only for a minute or two.
Wow.
Oh,
You're retiring. I've got plenty. I got plenty to come.
yeah, well, that was a good one. Just see if you can, better it for the next one.
Okay, we'll work on it. We'll work on it.
you're on, sir.
Okay, thank you very much. Good morning. I'm Leon Hobson, Raleigh County Director of Public Works. I'm here today to inform the public of a structure replacement project up on Fairview Church Road, which is scheduled to begin on Tuesday, July the 28th. Project is located approximately 1/10 mile east of Condrey Road. Of course, Fairview Church Road will be closed to all through traffic during construction from Condrey Road to Holman Road. Project is expected to be completed by Thursday, July the 30th, weather permitting. If you have any questions concerning this project, contact the Riley County Public Works Department at 785-537-6330. Thank you. Any questions?
I don't.
Nope.
No,
All right, very good.
Thank you, sir.
thank you.
Now it's Mr. Vargo.
Good morning, gentlemen.
Morning.
I want to remind everyone of the primary election that's going on right now. Remind everyone that the advance by mail ballots did go out last Wednesday. A lot of people, we've heard feedback, received them in the mail on Saturday. We've already started to receive some of those back, people walking them in at this point right now. We actually find a lot of people do that when they know there's postage involved to help save us a little money. It's quite common that people will do that with their mail ballots, even in previous elections. So far, as of Friday, we've had 6,744 people request ballots by mail, which well exceeds the 6,337 that we had participate in 2016 primary election. I was pleasantly surprised last week because given the number of mail ballot applications, what in-person advance voting would be like. And so far, as of last week, which that started last Wednesday as well, in-person advance voting, we've averaged 30 to 40 people a day. So that's been very impressive. So that definitely shows us we should definitely have a very good voter participation in this primary election. So that's great. That was twofold of what we thought might happen with providing that application by mail directly to everyone. Increased participation would be one of the outcomes, and it's bearing out to be that way. I want to remind everyone in those ballots they receive, there should be 3 pieces of mail in there. You should have your ballot, of course, one ballot. Should be a set of instructions, and there should also be a return envelope, and on that return envelope, postage is included. So if anyone has any questions on that, please give the Riley County Clerk's Office a call at 785-537-6300. And the same if someone sent one in and hasn't received it, say at the end of this week, give our office a call, because on those batches that we had a vendor send out for us, we can actually track and see where those are at, see if they got to the post office here in town, and then see if they got to their mailbox as well. So please contact us with any questions on any of that, and we'd be glad to assist voters. Any questions from the commissioners?
I don't know.
Okay, thank you, and of course, we'll be open for advanced voting in person all this week and all next week during regular business hours, and encourage people to come in and participate in the election. Thank you. Have a break, gentlemen, till 9:45, but actually have a break at 9:45, so no one back on until Tammy at 10. It's a CARES Act update.
Okay, thank you. Well,
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah. It is 10 o'clock.
10 o'clock, okay.
Got here quick, huh?
Yeah, it did.
Good morning, Commissioners.
Good morning.
Tammy Robinson, Budget and Finance Officer. I'm here with a quick update on the CARES funding. So I have been working with the consultant on beginning to compile our information. And we do have required submittal forms that we have to use, and there is a lot of information, very specific, that you have to have for that. So while I'll be preparing those for the county, they'll still be reviewing and making sure if there's any additional support that we have. And then also, of course, reviewing to help us make sure that everything is eligible for reimbursement or future expenditures. And I've also been working with the consultant on answering some of the questions that have come in from the local municipalities. I've been keeping up with new information that's released on the webinars each week. And every time they have a webinar, there's a chat and there's questions going the entire time that's going. So what they've been doing is going through those, of the ones that are not answering are the ones that are frequently asked, and they're creating those FAQs. So there's always new FAQs out there to review and make sure if there's anything new that you need to be aware of. One of the things that has been asked frequently is whether this money can be put into an interest or a non-interest bearing account. While the federal government doesn't prohibit you from putting it into an interest bearing account, the state is recommending putting it in a non-interest bearing account so you don't have to worry about any of the calculations or the complexity of determining how those interests are being allocated to those funds.
Mhm.
So with that, the Budget and Planning Committee did have a brief discussion on Friday. Everybody appears to be in agreement that we'll be putting it in a non-interest bearing account so that we don't have to worry about any of those issues. And as of Friday afternoon, the funds were still not there. Shiloh's checking this morning, so they should be here today, and if they're not, then I need to contact the state. So are there any questions or concerns or anything additional that you might
Not yet at this
want
time,
to
no.
discuss?
No, I don't think we're the only ones that haven't received the actual deposit yet. Several other counties have been talking about that over the weekend too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. So today's the big day. It should be here, and then Friday is the deadline for the assessments to be in, and it will be a quick week turnaround on the assessments and determining the allocations that we're going to recommend to you. So prior to July 31st, because that's when we want to actually start the application process. So prior to July 31st, we'll have those recommendations to you. So if everything goes well and we get through it as quickly as we'd like. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Very good.
Next gentleman, we have Clancy 1010.
Oh, absolutely. That's all I'm gonna let you know. I still think that this would be.
About 5 minutes.
good chance of rain showing up on 3.
Looks like this little line here is kind of breaking up a little bit, and
Little pop-up storm coming up around then, and then calm down, and maybe again later.
there's a good chance this evening too. They're saying 80%. Saw the future cast. It's saying anywhere from 2.25 to 2.5 inches of rain before this is said and done.
Not unusual this time of year. It's gonna be one of those hot, humid summers with not getting any let up in the little showers, you know? The
Yeah, they've been-
humidity was just horrible.
Yeah, the weekend was Friday and Saturday was kind of bad.
Temperature wasn't so bad yesterday, but the humidity,
Yeah.
I was outside working, I had a couple projects and plus working in the garden and so on it. I was just,
I ran to Dillon's yesterday morning around 7:15 or so, and it was pretty comfortable. But you could tell it was,
thick,
yeah. Then I went to the gym and it was a little after 3:30. I was like, whoa.
yeah. Well, it has to be hard with a mask in the gym.
It's not too bad unless I'm doing like cardio on the treadmill. And yesterday I really tried to ramp it up, and it was difficult.
I imagine, because I'm just at home on Monday and Wednesday workouts. Next time I go up and drink my protein drink and go take a shower, I'm still huffing and puffing. I can't imagine.
I was huffing and puffing pretty good yesterday. I sat down on the end of the treadmill and gave myself a minute or two to.
Is that mouse abuse, Mary? Is that mouse abuse?
Kind of.
Plans for the board meeting.
Huh?
Next plans for the next board meeting. You're on.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Good morning, Commissioners.
Morning.
Morning.
I'd like to ask for the board to, by motion, add an executive session to my administrative time for pending litigation.
Move that we add a executive session to Mr. Clancy Holman's administrative work session time.
All in favor?
Aye.
We'll go ahead and go into
How long do you need?
it. Till 10:30.
Okay. I move the county commission, including Chairman Rodriguez, Commissioner Ford, and Commissioner Wells, recess into executive session on potential litigation for the purpose of consultation with Clancy Holman, Riley County Counselor, attorney for the commission, which would be deemed privileged in the attorney-client relationship, an exception to the Kansas Open Meetings Act. The open meeting to resume in the county commission chamber at 10:30 a.m.
All in favor?
Aye.
Well, you're on that. She's there.
Okay. Good, okay. Move the Board of County Commissioners come out of executive session.
All in favor?
Aye.
Move the record reflect no binding action was taken during the executive session.
All in favor?
Aye. Yeah, I thought it was enough overtime Thursday, but I was gonna take the day off.
Yeah, I know. I don't understand why you didn't.
Well, you could have, but flex time has to be in the same week. You
Oh.
can't do it two different weeks.
See, he's always hanging his head on those rules. That's all I have, gentlemen. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Clancy.
Clancy. Thanks, gentlemen. Yeah, Monty Weedle at 10:30.
Is he gonna be on
He was
online?
out there. Hello, Monty.
Where did he go?
I thought he was out there. He might be out in the hall. No. There it is.
He's trying to make it more dramatic.
Gotcha. You wanted an introduction. Now entering is Monty Weedle.
Yes.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Okay, how do I get to
Just minimize up there.
minimize
Yep.
this?
Yep. And right there, BOCC agenda. Left, right, up, bottom.
Right here?
Yep. Scroll down.
Okay, well, I have, good news. You know, we, got a draft of all the articles done, so. The Riley County Planning Board has looked at all the articles and
Saw that.
they're fine with it. I sent it out to the steering committee the other day and, said, you know, once I get you guys to be okay with it, then I'll take it to the urban area board. And at some point, we're proceed with some public hearings to get it adopted. The only other thing we got left is we want to put in a lot of illustrations, so we're gonna have to go through there and that's gonna take some time, so I'm not sure we'll get it all adopted before I leave, but it should be in pretty good shape for someone to finish it up. So this morning I've got Articles 6 through 9, which I think you've seen all the other articles already. So, I want to kind of zip through just some of the main highlights here. I think, as I said in the car, you know, we started off with some pretty complex stuff for our urbanized areas, bigger cities and that sort of stuff. So we really tried to pare it down to what we think we just minimally what we need here to address the problem. So steep slope, what we ended up doing is we're not going to try to apply anything like, let's say for University Park, for example, we know there's a lot of really steep lots out there that were platted way back when. We're not going to have any regulations on how somebody does that. What we're going to try to do is, let's don't plat something like that in the future unless it's got an area that will work for a septic system. I mean, you can have steep parts, but let's don't have the entire lot be over a certain slope. Does that make sense? Okay. Because basically they end up being pretty much unbuildable, so there's no point in doing that. That's steep slope, pretty basic. Riparian buffer is basically what we have now. We made just a few updates, but you're familiar with that already, right? So, depends on the order of the stream, the setback requirement, what you can do in those setbacks.
Question for you on that deal there.
Yeah.
Because of those slopes and stuff like that, this does not apply to University Park existing
No,
unbuilt.
we're not gonna regulate the existing lots. They can-
Okay,
They
so-
can build on them if they want to.
Okay, but,
The only thing we will do is we'll have, that's in the other section on erosion.
okay,
So if they start doing something, and I'll get to that in a second.
Yeah, let me get to that here, when we get to that. Second. So, anything on riparian buffer, that's existing now. Ag buffer's existing now. We tweaked a few things, but that's about it. So here's erosion, and what we tried to do here is, I don't know if you're aware, but in the urbanized area by census, we're required, and I think Leon's maybe visited with you about that, required to do erosion control on certain lots. So what we're gonna do is basically take those rules, and Steve Higgins is basically the enforcement person for that already. We're just gonna apply that document to the entire county. So it gives us a vehicle to do something if there's a problem. So for example, we had a lot along the lake that somebody built on a pretty steep area, and they didn't do any erosion stuff, and we actually had siltation coming across the road and creating problems. So this will simply give us a vehicle to address those. You got to put in some measures to protect it from erosion. So that's where the steep slope, it's not, we're not as concerned with steep slope as we are, creating a problem. That make sense?
Okay.
So that's pretty minimalistic because we're basically referring to this Riley County erosion control specifications that is already documented. The state has to approve. Streets, driveways, pedestrians, this is pretty basic. Just talks about traffic impact studies and some of those kinds of things.
This would have
All this.
this would have prevented Tom Wirtz's problem with how that was built and everything else, I think. I think so.
Yeah, I don't know if that was a pretty.
Because I can see it.
Situation, but I mean, when that was first platted, that situation, they had a cul-de-sac and that seemed to, work for everybody. Why they went back to
I
this
have no
other
idea.
thing, that's what I don't.
Yeah, that's the
I
big
don't know,
part.
what their thinking was there, but anyway. And then this also talks about the functional classification that we have now. We have increased setbacks for major arterials and that sort of thing. And driveways and access, I think I referenced in there, we will be proposing a separate resolution on driveway standards. I think it's gonna go with the subdivision regulations. Basically our, visibility at intersections, some just basic stuff here. Parking, what we did is we took all of the uses in our use table and said what we're going to require for parking. Now, people are starting to think of parking a little different instead of, we're ending up with these huge seas of asphalt and stuff and are trying to cut back on requiring too much parking area. So we took a pretty minimalistic approach. And anyway, we came up with all of these based on guidance from other communities and agencies. Do you have any questions, though? I don't know if you had a chance to look over those.
I
I
can
can get
answer.
pretty detailed. The important thing is here, we put in this variations thing. So if someone still thinks a requirement is onerous or something, they could do a study of how much parking they need, and we could consider using that.
Okay.
And that's what this allows us to do. So, trying to build is a lot of flexibility in here.
It will eliminate some of those areas where I took my truck and almost couldn't get out of. A lot of little houses down in there and I couldn't turn around.
Oh.
The ambulance can't get in there, fire can't get in there.
I think that's all I want to talk about there.
Okay.
This is talk about stacking and some other basic things.
I'll go through it and I think though that this will help the future.
Yep. Landscaping and screening, we got some pretty minimal landscaping and requirements in the front on certain areas, but we try to get away from all kinds of landscaping. I mean, our initial one that was presented to us had landscaping around the perimeter and all kinds of stuff that just doesn't make sense for us. So, what we focused on is more on the screening requirement. So basically on screening, we're just going to allow a fence or a wall that is opaque and you can't see through it between residential and commercial and industrial, kind of like we have now. So if you got an existing, vegetative screen, that'll suffice. That we could use a site plan to make sure that's always going to stay there, but we're not going to allow, because we've had so many problems in the past, somebody trying to plant a vegetative screen and they start with very minimal sized trees and bushes and so forth, and they just die and it never comes to fruition. So we're getting away from that entirely. Design standards. Basically, we ended up with some, if we ever did have a multifamily complex, we got standards in there for that. Basically, and what we did is we went back and looked at the corridor overlay design stuff that we have in there to make sure it matches and this isn't more restrictive. We think we have it in a good place. And then we got commercial design standards. And basically pretty minimalistic, just, making sure you don't have just endless walls with no breakup and that sort of thing. It's pretty basic. Fire suppression, Pat looked at this, and we're basically referring to a lot of NFPA standards there for access and so forth. So, and he's approved that. Outdoor lighting, we're basically trying to get down to don't create more light on somebody else at the property line than X amount. So that gives us a
So what we're mainly doing with
be
this,
annoying and,
Yeah.
point somebody else,
this is the way I
point a
see,
light at somebody else, and we got.
this is the way I see this whole deal, is that
Yeah.
it's mainly in subdivisions like University Park and
Yeah.
that somebody's building on a farm lot, it's not, doesn't have all of this, but
Right.
part of it, but not all of it.
Commercial too, if
Yeah.
you're right next to residential, then you can't have light that.
Right.
And basically the electronic signs carry the same limitation.
Okay.
So you can't have an electronic sign that creates more light than X amount at the property. And then we cover outdoor recreational uses as well.
Okay.
There's some illustrations. Signs, what we try to do here is get away from content. You shouldn't have to read the sign to be able to tell what kind of sign it is, other than on premise and off premise, which the courts that's acceptable to them, at least for the time being. So we can regulate that way, but everything else we took out, the content, anything relates to content, we had to take it out. That's where the courts are heading. So we ended up with just basic types of signs. An example, I'm going to get to that chart. So we got banner signs, we got billboards, we got canopy signs. Basically describes the structure of them, not the content.
Mhm.
Right now we have a lot of content-based stuff in our current rates. We got to get away from that. Marquee signs, and then it just basically gets down to, depending on the zone you're in, what type of sign is allowed, how big, where it has to be set back, how high, and that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And so that's all we're controlling. And so we have that for residential, we have that for commercial and university, industrial, and ag. Now, what we try to do with agricultural sign, we have an agricultural sign, so let's say, Lazy T Ranch, for example, has a sign that has this is Lazy T Ranch, you know, that's an ag sign, that's exempt, from regulation, but we are requiring for them to get a permit so that we can determine, like we do now with somebody comes in and wants to build something, we ask them to get a permit and we determine it's ag, and we don't charge them anything, but we need to make that determination. So that's why we're asking for a permit rather than just a total exemption. Does that make sense?
Yeah, as long as minimal type of permit. I mean, I you know, I don't want
Yeah.
to
No,
charge people $250 for put up a sign.
no, it wouldn't cost anything if they're ag. It wouldn't cost
Yeah,
anything.
okay. The other one was that you and I talked about the political signs and stuff, and that's not, I haven't looked.
We got, I'll show you that in a second here. We got temporary signs, and we're defining temporary as 30 days or less.
Mhm.
And we're not gonna have a permit for those. Now, somebody could abuse that, I suppose, and, you know, they have something up for 30 days, and then they take it down for a little bit, and they put it back up,
Mhm.
you know, and keep doing that. We'll have an ability to deal with that. And so,
Now, you gotta have a little longer time for
But,
political
yeah.
signs.
Right here in this chart, temporary sign, you know, political sign would be temporary for the most part. But we got this footnote right here, 1, temporary signs for elections are exempt from the standards of the state.
Okay,
Size, whatever, we're not gonna control this. And she was our consultant was comfortable with that. Then we got billboards. Now, what we're doing with electronic stuff is, can I get rid of this? We basically come to the point where we don't care if it's electronic or not electronic. As long as it meets the
The
parameters
yeah,
of an
okay.
electronic sign, you can't have flashing and instant or moving and stuff like that, and brightness over a certain degree, that sort of thing. As long as it meets those parameters, it can go anywhere any other sign can go. Okay. And that includes billboards. We're going to allow electronic billboards.
Okay.
That's pretty much it on that. Ag protection easement, so, which is existing. Subdivision regulations, I think I talked about this in the past. Basically, what we focused on is making sure we still want to, let's don't plat anything that isn't abutting a public road.
Mhm.
And the driveway standards will make sure that you can get from that public road to where your house is
Mhm.
within parameters. Not a lot there. The rest of it is pretty routine. You got any questions over that? Raleigh County Planning Board didn't have any issues with anything
Okay.
in there, really.
You say this has got to go out and get public hearing or something? Or?
Yeah, oh yeah, I had to look to go, we'll have to publish it and so forth, but I have the study committee look at it
Okay.
and also go to the urban area planning board for a work session. And then we'll conduct, then we'll do public hearings before both planning boards and commissions.
Hey, Monty,
Yeah.
there is a policy already there dealing with political signs. Also, in relationship to how close they can be to intersections and that sort of thing. So you and I may want to get together on that one.
Okay, yeah. Yeah, it still shouldn't block sight.
Yeah,
distance
right.
and stuff like that, just, still should be safe, so.
I used my tape measure on one of them
Yeah.
one time.
Okay, anything else on subdivision regs?
I don't.
Okay, then we basically have administrative violations and enforcement is what we're calling it now. So it just basically outlines the enforcement procedure process, injunctive process. And it's pretty short. So,
Okay. We'll look at it and study it.
yeah.
Get back with you.
And then finally is our definitions. So you can look through those, see if anything in there. What we decided to do is, for example, sign regulations, we put under a separate section, put them all together, floodplain regulations is that way. airport overlay, puts stuff together so they're all in one place. The rest of them are all alphabetical, so. That's pretty much all I had. Am I out of time or?
Almost.
Yep.
That's up to the chair.
What's that?
That's up to the chair.
Yeah, so yeah, we need to get
Well,
with
it's
the
20
others.
minutes, so yeah,
Yeah.
I think I'm right at it, so.
Yeah, your allotted time.
Yeah.
Has expired.
Yeah, you're fired. Anyway,
I'm
so,
retired.
yeah, so we'll get with you and I'll go through it and get back with you on it, or what John, or if Ron has any
If you need to
questions.
publish it, now would be the time to do it.
Yeah, may I take this forward to the urban area board for a work session?
Yes,
Is it good enough for that, or do you want to look it over?
I looked
Careful.
most of it over the weekend, maybe except for the enforcement part of it, but we'll call that.
it looks pretty good, I mean, what I've seen of it, so.
Actually, I've got some comments back from the steering committee, Neil Horton, a couple of others. Herb Abel, Fort Riley, they so far indicated they think it's fine, so.
Yeah.
Your motion on that, gentlemen, to move forward?
What are we making a motion?
We're going to move it forward to the,
As we call,
I just-
approve proceeding to continue discussion with steering committee and Manhattan Urban Area Planning Board before proceeding to public hearings.
Okay, yeah, I'll make a motion that we move forward, further discussions with, proper groups and organizations for the Manhattan Urban Area Planning Board.
I don't know if that means anything. I'm still between this and the comprehensive plan. None of this is gonna fix that thing out there called the time machine with that junkyard out there on the frontage road.
Yeah.
Bill,
Well,
I mean, I got more complaints last week again. I've
Yeah.
been working on that 8 years now, and it's still a junkyard. I went out last week.
you might want to
Wednesday,
check with
and
Craig where that is at the moment. It was going to be on the tax sale, so we couldn't get a hold of the owner. So it's going on the tax sale, and like something happened, I can't remember what, but now it's going to be on the next tax sale. So that was
Okay,
going
it's
to
all
be the
seconded, all
remedy.
seconded just to move forward here.
all in favor?
Aye. No, thank you, Lonnie.
Thanks.
Sure.
Next, you have Leon Hobson on the cons rate resolution.
You're on, Leon.
Okay, thank you, Commissioner. Good morning again. Leon Hobson, Director of Public Works. I have before you a rate adjustment resolution for the Cons Valley Water Benefit District. And we periodically look at these benefit districts to assure that there is adequate income generated to the fund to where we can create and maintain a reserve fund and operate in the black. The Conza district is a little unique from the standpoint that they actually have an adequate reserve account. But however, they have fallen behind on the price that they charge for the water, as the cost of the water from the city of Manhattan has increased annually. And these rates were last adjusted in February of 2017. So I have 3 proposed changes before you with this resolution. To stay ahead of the rising cost of water, we are proposing to raise the water cost from $4 per thousand to $4.75 per thousand gallon. And then second, as I said, the reserve account is adequate. So rather than continue to build that fund, we are looking to reduce that minimum charge from $32 to $28. And then the third is a housekeeping change, which is just reducing the trip charge from $75 to $40. And the first 2 changes essentially cancel each other out. If you looked at the average for the district, the average water use, then there would not, the patrons wouldn't see much difference in their bill. There may be $1 or $2 here or there. But if somebody were to use a lot of water, we have put more emphasis on the water rate than the minimum now, which is a fixed amount. So the district, the Cons of Water District Advisory Board was in favor of the proposed changes, and staff recommends the commission approve the rates. Questions or comments?
Pretty straightforward.
None for me. I would move to approve the rate resolution for the Conzo Water Benefit District as presented.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All three, please.
Nick Leon.
Three,
All
please.
right, thank you very much.
Okay, Cheryl.
Morning.
Good morning.
I'm here to ask permission to fill the Riley County Historical Museum open as-needed museum assistant positions. 2 of our as-needed museum assistants are leaving for new opportunities by the end of July. Our as-needed museum assistants only work when we have the need and we have the funding. In 2020, we have a grant from the Riley County Historical Society and then some funding in our Riley County budget. So filling these positions would not add any expense in our 2020 budget and allow us to use the grant that we've received from the Riley County Historical Society.
Any comments?
Go ahead, Doug.
I think we talked about this already. We
Yeah.
just need to make it formal. Is that right?
Yeah.
Correct.
I'll go ahead and make a motion that we approve.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thanks very
Thanks,
much.
Cheryl.
All three,
So I
please.
won't be sitting over there at Saturdays and Sunday afternoons.
Unless you want to.
Yes, unless I'm
Thanks, Cheryl.
So what I'll do is present a gold sheet to hire those positions. So you'll be seeing that shortly. Not today, but soon.
What's that?
The gold sheets.
Bullshit.
Hiring. Posting them. Yeah. Oh, is it already there? Oh, we're so efficient.
Yay, so we're on the. Yeah.
The nice thing about the city, so I'm trying to get Rush Briggs to annex property right there because the city can condemn that mess, bulldoze it, and that's all allowed by the state. Kind of can't do that.
Ron, you're talking about Phil Ingrid's property?
Huh?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yeah, I
Okay.
talked to Craig about that too, because it was on the tax sale. Both Briggs and Rutgers were interested in buying it. And maybe even split it up and doing something else with it. And it just, the tax sale came away, I didn't know what happened, and I talked to Craig, and he said he was able to, Mr. Ingrid was able to somehow put it underneath another, or different, business name, or shipped it somehow, so he gave him another year to sell it somehow. I'm like,
At the time
that's
you get.
slippery. I don't know how, but I am up next, right?
Yes.
You are up next. You go
Actually,
ahead.
Goodness, I thought, man, this is gonna be.
You can go ahead.
Oh, thanks, sir.
Hi there, man. Well, good morning, gentlemen.
Good morning.
Everything is working out so far. What this is the, passing on the signed memo from the planning board for their annual review of the comprehensive plan as mandated by statute. And I'm not sure if it made it into minute track. Lisa said she took care of it. She's not here today. I'm not sure what's going on. And I believe at one time last year, Rich requested that you get copies of that ahead of time so you can see what it looks like. So this is the recorded copy of it in our office.
Okay, she did get it up.
Or she
on the
didn't get
side.
it. Very good. Excellent. So there's a few comments made by planning board member Diane Hubler. Some of the questions that were asked to see where we were as far as our progress with the plan. And one thing that she brought up was in the plan, there was some discussion about 750 new houses would be needed by the 20-year horizon of the plan. That was just a projection based on the stuff that was going on at that time. And so we didn't have an answer right away for that. And we're able to get an answer for her and emailed her. And she also wanted me to pass that information on to you guys. And so as we started tracking through the annual report, we were tracking the progress of the plan, how it was working on directing a non-agricultural residential growth to the growth or the designated growth areas. That was the primary focus on that. But we were able to track the number of permits, obviously, for the calculations. So since 2013 through 2019, there were 118 building permits. And of which 80 of them were non-ag residential. So there are quite a few, almost 30 of them that were agricultural residences. And a lot of those were actually replacement homes. So they didn't really, or couldn't be counted in the net increase of the number of homes and overall count, but it's quite a ways away from the 750 that was originally projected at the time. There's a few other things she had concerns with, but the plan doesn't quite frankly cover. And one of the things she brought up was referring to policy A4.3 in the plan, which states residential, commercial, or industrial uses shall not be permitted in agricultural areas if they are likely to generate an amount or a type of vehicular traffic which will exceed existing or planned road capacity and or interfere with existing farm traffic in the area. And what she was referring to is the intersection of Zedale Road and Pillsbury Drive. And that's essentially an urbanized entrance into the city. And it might be difficult, but all the larger truck traffic's going down Zedale Road anyway, just to save gas and everything else on the I-70. So again, that's something the plan really doesn't. That's not what that was intended, but we understood where she was coming from. It. Anyhow, other than that, the planning board felt that the plan is working as designed, and no changes were proposed to the plan at this time. So with that, that's all I have really, just to forward that on to you.
Any questions?
Not for me.
John?
No.
Okay.
Just there's something else to consider. 2025 is the comprehensive plans horizon. And usually about this time, maybe in another year, we start looking at an update to that plan.
Mm-hmm.
Other information that will go into it. So that's all I have.
Hey, Bob,
Have a great day.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Next, John, 1110, you have Lionel Nichols on redesigning courtroom.
How's Bruce?
Okay, hey, how are you, sir? Still raining outside? Not at the moment.
Bruce, how you doing?
Okay, sir,
Good.
as far as I know,
No one's told you any different?
nobody told me otherwise.
Are you still there, Leon?
This is over, he probably took off running.
Judge, Lana, how you doing?
Bruce? Morning.
Good morning. Do we need Leon on this one?
I would have thought he would have been on, but
Are you still there, Leon? Well,
No, you don't think we're-
okay. You're on. Whoever wants to start first.
I can.
Okay.
Good morning, Commissioners.
Good morning.
Again, I am Grant Bannister, the Chief Administrative Judge across the courtyard. As you're aware, this morning, I'm going to discuss our current situation with jury trials and our courtroom limitations. I think I'm going to tell you some information you likely know, but I don't want to omit it. We have 4 courtrooms, but 3 that can accommodate juries. The 4th goes to the magistrate that does not hold jury trials. They're nice courtrooms, but limited in size and layout possibilities. Even in, quote, normal times, the jury is squeezed into a jury box, at most designed for absolutely 12 people. Oftentimes we have an alternate or possibly 2 alternates, and really can't even get them in there like sardines at that point. We have to place them elsewhere. In our current phase of COVID-19, with taking precautions, physical distancing, just can't accomplish that in the current jury box. I'm not sure we can even entirely with some modifications, but we could certainly improve it. So we appreciate the opportunity to have Bruce McMillan take a look and see what he can do to improve it, both somewhat in normal aspects, but also potentially in our current limitations with COVID-19. I I don't know that this will be visible for either of you, but different judicial districts are taking different approaches to solve this problem, while we kind of have a moratorium on jury trials, but that's going to end in the foreseeable future, and we're going to be stacked up and busy. Some are using plexiglass to solve their problems, both effective and probably aesthetically adequate too. That might be possible with some enlargement or redesign. I don't know, but that's one option. If it's not, we're looking at, we're up to a dozen off-site venues that we've explored. All of them have their challenges and restrictions. None of them are gonna be perfect. Some may be adequate ultimately, but they have their cost, whether it's rent or even if they're waiving rent, they need reimbursement for sanitation. If it's K-State, there's parking issues. We tentatively have a trial scheduled at K-State in early August. Again, they're waiving rent, but charging for sanitation and the other costs that go along with that. We have about a $3,300 bill, and that doesn't include cost of renting a walk-through metal detector, which we'd have to get elsewhere. So we may be looking at $4,000 for one trial to go off-site. Finding a solution in our courtroom would probably be cost of one going off-site for one trial. So economically, it makes sense, kind of in those respects, or the opportunity cost. But what I can't tell you necessarily right now is, until it materializes or we see more what potential blueprints or plans would be, whether this would just be for one courtroom or all three. I'd like to give some deference to the other judges that we preside over their trials and maintain their courtrooms rather than forcing something on them. And their response is, well, let's see how it turns out for one, or kind of a guinea pig before we commit any money for all of them. But we could have triple the cost potentially if we find a good solution that can be fitted into our building and courtrooms. Same would be true for plexiglass, potentially placing a jury in the gallery in the meantime until an architectural redesign could occur to get us by however long that would be. Questions that I can assist with for my portion.
I'll tell you, when I've read that over and everything, one concern would be, we go through all this, we don't know how long the pandemic's gonna be, whether we're gonna have a big resurgence, winter, et cetera, but we need to try to continue on with the jury trial as much as possible. I hate to see a huge backlog in a year or two where you're running around the clock, but the question I have is, are we sure that, and I realize that Bruce will give us guidance, but is this really going to work? Go to this much trouble and then find out, well, no, the pandemic's flared up again or higher. It's not going to work, so we're still going to sit there with the courtroom unused because it didn't meet the guidelines. Most importantly, though, is, I have to check with Tammy, but this is reimbursable through the CARES Act. So that's where I'm fine with going ahead and trying to do something to continue on and get these trials off the books and stuff. So if it wasn't for that CARES funding, I don't know.
It
the way
does.
the budget is. So.
The consultant actually did speak to that and said that that is definitely one that would be, and as far as, I mean, if they did do all three, it would also carry all three rooms if they had to. Clancy made a good point, because we talked about this in the committee, that, you know, they're entitled to a speedy trial, and this would help that process. And so instead of creating the backlog, Clancy did advocate to have this done.
One of the questions I may have here, and is there been any discussions about how to maybe move forward through a more digital or virtual means. When that time comes, is that part of this? I know there's some regulations and stuff that would have to be shifted probably with that, but is that something that's been talked about as well?
There's that discussion occurring all over the country.
Yeah, okay.
So not just limited to Kansas or our district, but again, depending on the type of trial, nature of trial, the thought is generally would not be permitted in a criminal defendant's trial due to some constitutional implications,
Okay.
possibly in a civil trial. But even that's not necessarily clear. There are some districts that are gonna give it a shot with a non-binding, all by video jury selection. And parties are gonna commit to mediation if they don't agree with the jury verdict. So maybe it moves the ball some, but until some of those occur maybe or get appealed, you can't really answer that question right now, but your constitutional scholars and what they can glean from other court decisions that again don't exactly fit these factual circumstances, but extrapolating, believe it impinges on the defendant's right to have in-person confrontation of witnesses and in-person jury selection and those things.
So I feel like Ron does, we can do this. It takes plexiglass or whatever it is to help out, so you can get moving on it. I would agree that we need to do something like that and move this forward, because I agree with you that when you get to criminal trials, you don't need someone on the video somewhere. You need them in person. And so, especially when you're trying to identify somebody, and sometimes video doesn't come through like you want, so it makes it difficult. And so I would say that I would agree to start on it, and we'll let Bruce do his due diligence on it and see what we can propose. Or how much time are you talking about to do this? What would you like to get done, time-wise?
Well, I think I'd probably defer to Mr. McMillan.
Okay.
See what kind of time he needs, but we still have some timelines suspended by the Supreme Court,
Okay.
but they generally stated, we can't keep those in suspension indefinitely, and we're buying you time to solve these problems, but they haven't necessarily given us their deadline either. So that's a vague and general answer, but
Okay.
we need to be working towards our solutions.
Okay. So let Bruce.
Yeah.
What do you look at timeline?
Commissioners, thank you. This first effort, excuse me, with fogged up glasses, but this is an investigative process, as the judge has explained, and we can get some concepts and possibly some very preliminary budgets together in the probably next 30 plus days, and be there, maybe 45 at the most. I'm trying to work with Tom Erasmo and mechanical electrical that might have to be adjusted as far as equipment are concerned too. Beyond that, as far as developing any construction documents, timeline, or anything like that, I don't know yet. But I would imagine in the near term, the range that I've mentioned is probably what we would be looking at.
So I got through the memo, and I guess this is probably a Tammy question. We initially have to go through CIP to do all of this.
Well, technically, the funding came now.
Okay.
In the account, so that's good news. And technically, since the funding is there, if you approve it, and depending on what our allocations are at the end of the month, we should be able to go directly to those funds because they'll be in place. And if it's gonna be 30 to 45 days, it will be after the August 15th. But as far as being ineligible, there are no issues with the eligibility,
Okay.
so.
So that could be first round or second round.
It'll be this part of this 15 million is what
Okay.
we'll request it to go towards. The only thing we'll need for an allocation is a good estimated cost. It doesn't have to be 100% exact, but it has to be an estimated cost by the end of the month.
The end of this month.
The end of this month, because we'll have to have it as part of our proposal for that August 15th deadline,
Right.
which starts July 31st.
But if he makes a proposal up here, we can,
Right.
and the actual comes in here, it's fine.
Right.
But if he makes an actual here, or he makes a proposal here, and it's actually here, we have to cover the
Then
difference.
we would have to cover it. Correct.
Okay, my understanding that you need is the design and the budget.
The budget mainly.
It doesn't have to be 100% like this is exactly what it is, but if you can give me some sort of an estimate, whether it's like $10,000 or $100,000, like that kind of an estimate, because it will be part of what we look at of being approved for funding.
So the dates that you need to know, Bruce, is we need to have your request by the 28th, correct? By the 28th of July. And then we can pay out those funds, or we gotta have all those allocations gathered up to present to the board by August 15th. That's just the federal guidelines that are just ridiculous on the timing of this funding. But like Tammy said, it's just give us your best guess numbers, because we have until the end of the year to actually pay it out. And so we can have costs that you know, and then future costs you expect in those figures.
Do they provide a form of some kind that they want, this line shows this and so forth? and
They
on those?
will when we actually pay it. That is exactly what I have to do when we actually pay it. But as far as an estimate, I would just, need like an outline of 3 courtrooms and, potentially the costs that it's going to take to make it socially distanced, acceptable.
Bruce, what we need from you is basically an invoice. Tammy will handle the details on the paperwork with the federal government on the county side, since we're paying it as a county. We'll be responsible for the federal side.
Do you want me just to invoice the full amount that I quoted for this preliminary, just invoice that whole thing?
Yes.
Even though it would work on.
And it just has to be an estimate. It doesn't even have to be a formal invoice, just something that'll give me an estimate so that when we have those costs, it's a number that we can reflect that we're going to use towards this project.
Okay. Do you need just the construction estimate of the design fees plus the cost?
All of it.
All of it, yeah.
So I have your 3,400, but that's the only part I know. So anything beyond that 3,400, I would just need a strong estimate for.
We need all of costs associated with this due to the COVID-19 pandemic, because the federal monies are available for us to use for this entire project as an adjustment just due to those circumstances.
And for all 3 courtrooms?
Yeah.
At this point, we wanted all 3,
Yeah.
Is that the 3
Right.
large ones or including the magistrate?
not the magistrate.
Not the magistrate.
So everything you think is needed, and it may just be an estimate, and it may be high, but what you're
Yeah, well-
actually, well, but I mean, when you actually get it done, it may be less, okay? And we can get it taken care of, but if you're low on it,
We can't get there. if
Yeah.
I'm-
Yeah.
Okay.
Commissioners, this is Leon.
yes,
Bruce, I want to make sure that you separated out as design costs and then project costs. We just want those separated. We don't just give me a lump sum or give us a lump sum. Separate those out if you would, please.
Sure, I understand, Leon. Thank you.
Okay.
we're gonna commit them to go do this.
Move to approve.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, we're gonna start on it.
Thanks for getting us on the agenda and your consideration and support.
Not a problem.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You can move as fast as I do now.
Thank you, Tammy.
And
You don't have to accept all three. I mean, if you decide you only want to go with one, you can, but at least you'll know that overall cost if that's something. But this is exactly what they're talking about, because they don't know when it's going to end.
Right.
That you have to be able to plan to make sure you can make it work, because, I mean, you don't know how many cases you'll be looking at that need to be tried.
But we're gonna be busy, the court's gonna be busy, and I think we need all three of them done.
Well, they don't want to build a brand new building if you can avoid
No,
that.
no, no,
But-
I know, but
if
just,
you
the
can
just the
modify
interior,
rooms
modify the
So
rooms,
that it'll make
yeah.
it work to do what you need to get done.
Yeah.
That's their main intent,
Yeah.
is they want to be able to help structure those.
They can give us the totals they think, with Rosums, Colora, and Bruce, and then we can
Determine what
We
you
can-
want to accept.
scalpel it
Yep.
later.
And we don't have very many of those that are coming in, but this is definitely one that
Yes, it needs to be done.
they wanted to make sure was on the radar, so we wanted to get them in here to see right away.
Okay,
Thank you.
thank you, Tammy. Well, we got this done. Is there anything else that you two guys want to do? Or you have anything, Rich?
You're not having any additional business, John?
You have anything else?
There will be a conversation coming up tomorrow during the chamber meeting on the economic development sales tax. So I will clarify that we're not against going forward with that, but maybe this isn't the best year to do it. Just so everybody knows where we're standing on it, or where I guess I'm standing on it at this point in time. We are gonna have to probably revisit that at some point in time, obviously, considering what the city is at least proposing currently. It doesn't look to me like there's gonna be any way of working anything out that we've done 2 times prior, so it looks like we'll have to have competing sales tax at some venture.
The city can't have a countywide tax.
No.
Yes, sir.
And just for clarification, I mentioned something to a couple commissioners, but department head called me. I didn't read the Mercury article, but there was an article that stated in their dialogue, the city had discussed proceeding because the county was not going to go forward with a half-cent sales tax. And that department head thought it would be good for the board to clarify, and probably John at the Chamber of Commerce, to clarify we're not going forward this year, but the county does intend to go forward with a half-cent sales tax for roads and bridges in the future. It's just not this fall. Because I think that's somewhat misleading if you're getting that out to the
For me,
public.
it's been the pandemic, just the uncertainty of where we're at. I don't think it's the right thing to do on either side. I can't control what the city does there or ultimately decides to do, but it looks like, at least from what I'm seeing currently, that they want to move forward with that municipal tax. And in order for us to accomplish what we need to accomplish, we're going to have to decide at some point in time what we want to do on our end, and we're going to have to probably be competing.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
Mr. Leon, I just wanted to echo kind of what Rich was saying. It seems like I'm hearing misinformation that if the city puts in their tax that they're talking about and putting on the ballot this year, that it would replace the sales tax that the county is doing. And so therefore there would be no increase in theirs would not be considered a new tax. And I just think the commission needs to emphasize the fact that is, like Rich said, that's not the case, that the county does intend to put it back on the ballot at some point in time. And so, I think it's just that misrepresentation that kind of, I think the commission needs to be aware of and make clear.
That's a really good point, Leon. I don't think in any of our discussions, we said, no, we're just going to nix it completely. I think our conversation was we just didn't want to do it this year.
This year, because as it turns out now, that if this fall is successful, I talked to some people down at the mall area. Unfortunately, Texas Roadhouse and the other outside deal where they've already are suffering from a very high sales tax to repair the floor of the mall. Then when the county goes ahead, that's going to be an additional sales tax, not an extension. It will be for the rural Raleigh County, but it'll be an additional sales tax, which will be about 10%. And that's going to could bring the end of some of those places down there. So it's something to think about. But like I say, what the city does tomorrow night, well, I'm sure it sounds like they're going ahead with theirs. So.
I think it's the wrong thing to do at this point in time. I'm just gonna say that publicly.
For the city or for the county?
For either or this year, when we don't know, when there's so much uncertainty economically, and we don't even know where we're gonna be at right now. I just don't think it's why I don't think it's the fair thing to ask everybody, particularly those that are either on the threshold or already have closed, or those people that are no longer employed because of that. We're basically asking them to pay the same or more on top of everything else that's happening. So, but either way you look at it, if we have competing sales tax, whether it's the city's fault, the county's fault, or however you want to look at it, it's going to be an increase. There's just doesn't seem like there's any way of getting around that.
So actually, if they pass theirs and ours gets passed, the city is going to have a 1 cent sales tax.
Right.
Total.
Because they're still going to get their municipal split on top of what they're asking for outside of under that scenario. So.
Well, like I said, it's a necessity for the city. That's 44% of their budget.
Yeah.
But people won't understand that. And I still think we'd like to have it this year. That way they can get a half cent, we can get a half cent.
And actually, Ron, that's the necessity for their sales tax, what they currently have. If they get this, it'll be higher than 44% of their budget.
Right.
Because it's additional on top of
Oh,
their
absolutely.
40% right now. I just wanted to clarify that. They're heavily dependent on it now, so then they're even gonna make their budget more heavily dependent on sales tax.
And we don't exactly know what that sales tax is gonna look like. We just learned today it's down 8%, it was down 13%. I mean, I guess at some point in time when we get into the recovery mode instead of response mode, that maybe that balances back out. I just don't know what those things are gonna look like right now.
I understand. I have to go to another meeting at the city.
Alrighty.
So,
I move we adjourn.
all in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Thank you all. I'll have a good day.
We'll do.
Yeah, problem.